good morning, Cruk. A quick demo video for you for two of your sabers. Your first one is your animated series Clone Wars Obi-Wan. This is by Jawa's Junkyard. I got this done yesterday, installed with the Proffie and CC Sabers lit PCB. We'll go over this one second because your second one is this guy and just happened to be in my hand. So this is the Sabers Nadar Veb saber. I hope I'm saying that right. Also install the Proffie CC Sabers in here again for your lit PCB. Now this did come with a little PCB holder and switch holder here, but I had to make my own because I made this a removable chassis. So what you want to do is just unscrew the pommel just like that. You'll see your chassis sticking out here. You can go ahead and you can pull it right out. And then, I've got that 14-pin PCB in there that never comes out. All right, and then this is what your chassis looks like right here. So install the Proffie over here. Easy access to both your SD card and your micro USB. All of these sabers that I'm doing for you have the stock font package on them, although a copy of the config file is on this SD card because in particular I set this up for a one-button saber because that's what it is. Okay, so it's a one-button saber. Removable battery set up right here. This has a fully enclosed 22mm Smuggler's Outpost Nano Elite speaker, so that's what you got back here. In fact, both of these sabers today have the same size speaker. All right, and of course that PCB system right there that lines up with that 14-pin PCB. I did print a spacer for the pommel just for, you can see it right there, just a little added push for the chassis to lock into those pins, but that's been glued in so it never comes out. Something you'll probably never even notice, but I wanted you to see that it was in there, not obstructing your sound venting holes in any way. All right, get a battery. I believe both of these take 7/8 inch blades, but we'll verify that here in a second. We'll just take your battery and throw it in. We'll go ahead and throw this chassis in any way you want. All right, so we'll just throw it in just like that. Take the pommel, screw it on. And you can see that this saber comes with a hole here for a recharge port. I chose to do a removable battery, obviously, but when you screw the pommel all the way down, it does hide that hole. So it's never an eyesore or anything like that. But once we get that all the way locked in, we come over here and hit activation. Just tap it for auxiliary. I did give you twist off on this guy. We'll go ahead and we'll throw a blade in, and it does take a 7/8 inch blade. All right, so we'll go ahead and throw that in and lock it down. Not a whole lot of blade depth in this saber due to the fact that the, I'll show you here in a second, but the switch is right up here against the emitter, right? So if the switch had been down here a little bit, it would have been a little bit more room. But because that switch was right there, I mean, I've got it right behind the PCB. So you have a decent amount of bite on your blade retention screw. Don't mind all the marks on my blade. I use this to calculate depth in sabers that I have to design chassis for. But it lights up just fine. Good flash on clash. Blaster bolt reflex. To change sound fonts on a one-button saber, it's a long press on the button.
Smooth gray.
Your fire blade. I've got the volume on this speaker set to 1300. I wouldn't go past 1800 if you change it. All right, but it sounds really good. Fully enclosed. A very nice speaker that Albert came out with. It rivals the 24mm in my humble opinion, especially if you have this fully enclosed. It performs better, in my opinion, than a 24mm that's not fully enclosed.
Smooth fuzz.
Just like that. And we'll go ahead and we'll take the blade out of this guy and go over taking the battery out. All right, because this one is a removable battery and the other one is not. But we'll go over the reasons why that's not here in a second. But when we're done, we'll just unscrew the pommel again. I need to put a little bit of some thread grease on these, and I will do that before I ship it out. I just got this done. All right, but we'll go ahead and just pull the chassis straight out. And then from the positive side of the battery over here by the speaker, you should be able to pop it out with your finger just like that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll throw this guy back in and put the pommel on so I don't lose anything. Put it off to the side. So that's the Nadar Veb, okay, from Adam Sabers. We'll put that off to the side. My Allen key back. And we'll go over this one. Now this one is the Clone Wars animated series Obi-Wan saber from Jawa's Junkyard. This made for a very somewhat challenging install because I don't know if you could tell by the by the camera or not, but this is super thin. I think I measured it at 0.97 inches or 0.98 inches in the ID of this saber. So I had to fit everything in there, right? You got CC Sabers again here for your lit PCB. You do have a decent amount of blade depth, and you have a blade retention screw right here. All right. On the switch section, the switch section is held on by magnets because that was the design of the saber. All right. It actually came with its own holder here. I had to redesign one. I didn't really care for how much it was sticking up, and it wouldn't allow the switches to be pressed. I designed my own. It's very similar to the one that came with it, just I made a few small tweaks to better suit my installs. Okay. It's held on with magnets. You'll notice I have some tape here on the bottom of the switch plate, and I also have some tape here. So I have some tape, a little bit more in the middle, and then one on each side. Underneath those ones on each side, there's magnets to match the switch plate. So it clicks on just like that. The problem with this setup, though, was it was designed to be held on by magnets, but the magnets were so strong that came with it, they were pressing the tactile switches. So that was the main reason why I redesigned a holder, and then I also lifted up the magnets just a hair, and then I made like kind of a teeter-totter system right here on the middle of the switch plate, so you could swing over here and hit activation, or you could swing over here and hit auxiliary. And when you weren't doing that, this switch plate floats up a little bit so it's not pressing on the tactile switches. I hope that all makes sense. All right, but to get to the chassis, you just want to unscrew the pommel again. And like I said, this is the same speaker, so a 22mm Nano Elite in its own speaker pod here, so that we can detach this and have access to everything. If you look in here, you've got access to your micro USB, your SD card for your Proffie. You've got the stock speaker pogo pins that match up with this PCB right here. You've got a 1.3mm recharge port, and then you also have a kill switch. So anytime I do a recharge port, I'll either have to do a kill key for the port or a kill switch. It's a lot easier to do a kill switch on this setup because everything is so tiny and condensed. But that's what it looks like in there. All right. So we just come over here. You can flip this with your finger, flip it up to turn it on. Once we flip it up, we can come over here and test it just to make sure everything is good. Of course, we're not going to have any sound. So we'll take this pommel and screw it all the way back on. Just like that. Come over here and hit activation. Auxiliary back here. Just like that, and we'll go ahead and throw a blade in. So this does also take a 7/8 inch blade. All right, so we'll throw that in there. Very unique hilt. I've not worked on one of these before, so it was an interesting install, but got it all done and didn't have any issues with it at all. Okay, lights up nice, pretty solid for being a thin neck. This has the typical blade depth issue that you would have on a thin neck saber. There's just not a whole lot of blade depth. My 7/8 inch blade, I think, is about just shy of 2 feet long. It's perfect for this saber. You probably don't have one that small, but I think it will hold a full-size blade, no problem. But in order to switch sound fonts, we just tap auxiliary.
Smooth Jedi.
And we got that blue for Obi-Wan. Got the Obi-Wan arch nemesis. Force blade lockup is holding down aux and hitting the saber. And it stays like that until you let go of it. So I initially had some reservations about how this switch plate would work, but it stays on very well and it works very well. So I'm not having any issues with it through testing.
Smooth gray. Smooth fuzz.
Now, in order to play a soundtrack, it's just a long press on the power. Just like that. And then another long press to turn it off. Just like that. Just like that. So everything's working on there exactly like it should. We'll go ahead and we'll take the blade out of this guy. And then when we're done with this, we just want to make sure to come back over and flip the kill key, or the kill switch rather. Sorry, I always get those confused. Okay. If you find it easier to do it with a tool, of course you can do it with a tool. We'll turn it on so that you can see the sabers on until I come over here and flip the switch, and it kills everything just like it should. So that is basically your Nadar Veb and your Clone Wars Obi-Wan. Let me know if you've got any questions. If not, these guys will be set off with the other group of sabers I've got done from you, and because I've got a few more to work through before I get these out in the mail. All right, thanks, man.